We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order at 6:04. Miriam is not able to join us tonight as she has an excused absence. She is under the weather. So you get to have me help facilitate. So um, we'll go ahead and call to order and welcome everybody. Gina, do you mind doing a roll call?
I'd love to. Allison,
Here.
Jamie,
Here.
Robin,
Present.
Greg, and I don't see Greg, and Miriam's excused. Alyssa,
Present.
All right. So for our group, 4 is quorum. So thank you all for being here this evening. As we work through the next item, before we get there, how about we go around and say our names, who we are, what ward we serve, and maybe how long we've been on the commission, as we have a new commissioner in our presence. So let's start with Robin.
Sure. Hi, my name's Robin Davis. I live in Ward 1. Excuse me. But I was appointed to the commission via the mayor. I am a business owner. I'm a writer. I work in public safety for my primary business, though, primarily parking. And I've been on this commission for 2 terms, which has been now about, I don't know, 3 years perhaps, something like that. So.
Thanks, Robin. And Jamie?
I'm looking up because I don't remember. So I started in December 2021, so just over 2. Is that right? 2 years?
You're in your second term too. Yep.
Yeah. And I think I'm Ward 1 in North
Allison?
Albany.
Nice.
I'm Allison Dean. I use she or they pronouns, as you can see. I've just completed 1 year with this commission. I live in Ward 1, but was appointed by a Ward 3 counselor.
And then Alyssa, do you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Alyssa Neidegger. I use she, her pronouns. I live in Ward 1, and this is my first day on the commission. So I'm very excited to join y'all and get to help out.
And then Gina, do you want to introduce yourself?
yeah, I'm Gina Parise. I've worked for the city forever, and I've been doing the Human Relations Commission forever. But I'm an administrative assistant in the city manager's office. And yeah, I've worked part-time for years because I enjoyed being home with my children and now my grandchildren, but my husband retired. So I stepped up and started working full-time so that we can have the insurance. But so now he's babysitting.
He's keeping him busy. So Wade used to work for Parks and Recreation. So I'm the Parks and Rec director and the other staff liaison. So yeah, you traded it out. All right. So the next item for business is elections of chair and vice chair. And what I'm going to recommend is, because we only have 4 folks here, that we wait until the next meeting. I apologize. I think that probably just makes the most sense, so we can get a good feel and have folks' voice heard. So if you're thinking about running, continue to hold that into your brain. If you have any questions, reach out to Gina or myself. But we'll go ahead and hold off on that one. Miriam will continue in the vice chair role to officiate meetings, officiate to help run the meetings at the next month. And if she's not here, then it'll be me again. So moving on to item number 4.
Kim,
Yeah.
one thing, it's so funny. I've done this forever, but this only comes once a year. So I always look back and look over the notes. And something new to me is I didn't realize that you don't make a motion to actually vote on the elections, but you do make a motion if you're going to table it.
Oh, okay.
So I just read that today. So so the minutes will be official if someone could make a motion to table the minutes till the next meeting and someone second it, And then all in favor?
I'll make the motion to table the election of chair and vice chair to the next meeting.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye or raise your hand. All right, so moved. So thank you all. Next is business from the public, and we did not have any public sign up to speak. So we'll move on to number 5, approval of the January minutes. Has everybody had a chance to read over?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we have any discussion? And if not, can I hear a motion to approve?
I move to approve these minutes.
So motion by Allison and seconded by
I second that.
Robin. All in favor, raise hand or say aye. All in favor? Minutes so moved. So thank you all. So we've had a little bit of changes additionally for this, as we had some guest speakers lined up. And Emma Eaton let us know today that she will not be able to make it. So we won't be hearing from the Cumberland Community Event Center. For Counselor McGee, Gina, have you heard anything? Okay, so we'll hold tight there as maybe she's just running a little bit late. So we'll move on to item 6C, which is land acknowledgement recommendation to City Council. So I want to report back on this as I chatted a little bit with Peter, and he let me know that Councilor Smith had and former Councilor Bartholomew had potentially reached out to the Grand Ronde tribe, and we're trying to figure out potentially some language for a possible land acknowledgement. So that's all good stuff. So I met with Councilor Smith and got her thoughts, and I reached out to the just general info at the Grand Ronde, and I haven't heard back. And I sent that email on February 2nd. So I wanted to check in with this group to see if anybody has any connections with the tribe. And if so, to please let me know. If not, I'll continue to poke around a little bit more. But I think anything that we do, we need to make sure clearly that we're involving the tribe in it, as words are just words until we bring in the appropriate people. So so I wanted to let you know that there is some movement on that, and I think there could be an appetite for council to do that, and to discuss what that potentially would look like. If it's a sign in City Hall, if it's a sign at all of our buildings, is it a memorial or a monument potentially down at the park working with the tribe? I don't think with the way time flows, I don't necessarily think this will be done by the time that we open the park, as I want to make sure that we're having appropriate conversations with the tribe. But my thought, that just means if it goes through and gets approved by council, then it's more to celebrate when that does happen. So that is my update on land acknowledgement. I can send out a rough draft that I believe they started to put together. But it was very basic. So I just kind of wanted to give a general update to see if anybody had any connections. And if not, I'll see if I can scratch around.
In the last period, I did look at some best practices and some similar sized cities as to what they have done. And so I have some notes there. And so if you need me to get involved either after you've had a chance to talk to the counselor or you've received information back from Grand Ronde to help draft it, I'm happy to help. One of the things that I was doing a little bit of research on it is I don't know if like you had mentioned, a plaque or something. I know the city of Corvallis has some monuments there in their waterfront park specifically to the Kalapuya tribe. I don't know if I don't know if the Arts Commission has anything like that that's ever been presented to them that could be potentially revived or repurposed into something to go along with that acknowledgement, whether it be a plaque or something along those lines. Yeah, so
I know it hasn't come through the Arts Commission, but that doesn't, they don't have any money either. So, so,
I kind of figured that.
yeah, but I think that's a great idea. And I certainly think that, that should be a part of the conversation.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So maybe Robin, you and I will get coffee one day and kind of chat through and see if we can come up with some best practices to maybe
Yeah, I'll bring
when
my
we get a
notes.
contact with the tribe, then we'll be able to, yeah, have
Yeah.
something to present. Well, Counselor McGee, welcome. We're excited to have you here tonight.
Thank you so much. I apologize. It's been a long day, and it's in my calendar, and I kept saying, "Don't forget to log in." And then I was decompressing, and it just slipped my mind. So thank you to Allie. I appreciate you, sis. Sorry,
Hey,
y'all.
we get it. Totally good. We're a little bit light on some of the presentations tonight and topics, so we're kind of cruising through. I can give you a little bit of time to settle in if you want to listen to us kind of talk through the rest of the things, or if there's anything that you want to address the commission, you can do now. I'll let you choose what you would prefer.
I can let y'all finish, and then I'll jump in at the end.
All right,
I'm
sounds good.
here. It's up to y'all.
Awesome. So that is land acknowledgement information. So yes, I feel really good about it. I think it's just going to take a little bit of time, but I feel like the appetite and the climate is favorable. So, let's move on to the next one. HRC name change recommendation. I know that there was a group that was going to potentially meet as a subcommittee to talk about crafting a memo. Do we have any updates on that?
I don't believe we have met as a group. I'm not sure who was chairing that group or who was. Do you recall, Allison? Was that
That was
me or
you, Robin.
That's probably why I don't recall. So, yeah, I'm happy to pick that up again and actually add that to my notes. And I will, and I have the emails that Gina sent out. I remember that, and so I'm happy to revive that. I would, I think there's a great amount of interest on the commission to do so. It's just the will to do it. So to get together and figure that out. So yeah.
If you, Robin, again, if you need any support with getting that lined up, I'm happy to
Okay.
do. Yeah.
I'll reach out to you via email this week.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Awesome. Moving on to the next one, annual report. So I reached out to Keith and we have the template of what it looks like and what it has in the past. Keith, last year, I think it was pretty well received as it was a pretty short presentation to council, kind of listing what each of the meetings was discussed and some kind of hopes and aspirations for the group, and then asking for a little bit of clarification. I think we can definitely do the same thing. I unfortunately don't have the actual document to hand over and say, here, edit this, but that's okay. Sometimes it's good to start fresh. So I don't think there's any harm in that at all. So in the past, that's been something that the chair has done, but since we are chairless currently, does anybody have any thoughts or ideas, or is it something that we would like to wait until, maybe the summer to present? How are folks feeling?
Do we feel like that should be established or decided before the name change, or do we feel the name change would be better served as a project to have that report done, or do you feel the two are unrelated in any way? I guess is the question for the group.
I kind of feel like there's some gravitas to take the annual report and in that to say, to kind of feed two birds with one seed, if you will. Say like, here's our annual report, here's the direction we want to go this next year, and that includes being called something different. Just my feelings on that.
That's kind of where I was leaning to.
So with that in mind, go ahead.
Is there a reason why you guys aren't changing the name? I think this came up before, if I remember, but because this used to be called something different, then it got changed to this, right? Like, isn't there a history with like some name changes with the HRC?
from what I understand, it's always been Human Relations Commission. There was
Okay.
talks about potentially being a Human Rights Commission or other things, but with the previous council, that was not something of interest. And so the group's charter has evolved in the last couple years, 4 years ago, when Mayor Johnson came on board. This group was given the authority by council to go back and draft language, and it was approved by council, which is really lovely. So the name has always been Human Relations Commission, but the charter has evolved.
And because of that, you all are leaning into changing the name, correct? Okay. Okay. That's it.
No, good question. Any more you have, let us know. You're giving us valuable insight on on council questions.
And if I call from the minutes, last time we had talked about some possible candidates for those names, and equity and inclusion, I think, came up to be pretty high on that list, if I'm not mistaken, at least the consensus. So now with Alyssa joining us, perhaps she can, because they were diversity, equity, and inclusion, or just equity, I think was one of the other ones, if I'm not mistaken.
I will say, we had a meeting today at LBCC regarding, because we have a advocacy communications commission, community commission. And I helped to come up with that name. But one of the things that came out of that meeting was that I think LB is going to, not now, but I am almost positive we're going to be undergoing like a name change with our equity, diversity, and inclusion office because of the attack that EDI is under and funding being pulled. Just last week, I forget which college it was, but it was here in Oregon, and they completely dissolved their EDI department and office. So while I hear that, I don't want it to be a situation where you all, if you're applying for something and you can't get it because of your name, you know? So just kind of keep that in the forefront. I'm all about an EDI, child. EDI, SJ, social, like all of that. But I know just with EDI being under like intense scrutiny and being politicized in a way that has not been before, that just thinking about some name changes that maybe not lean so much into that, even though that's obviously the core of the work, right? But I do know like a lot of people are, just because of what's happening with it. I mean, we know pre-George Floyd or right in George Floyd was all about EDI. We are seeing a lot of those departments being dissolved, a lot of those programs, folks losing jobs, things are being merged with like HR and things like that, just in an effort to keep kind of this work centered, but not with the name. And we've seen this type of thing before historically. This is not new, but just in case, like if you all want to apply for a grant for whatever, we don't want you all to be turned down because of a name. You see some, you know, so just FYI.
I appreciate that. That is something that we talked about a little bit at our last meeting, you know, how to balance what this work really is that we're doing. And what's funny is we had talked about part of the discussion around the name change was about how to make it something that was accessible for like grant committees, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's that's something that we have to balance while still speaking to the spirit of what this group is doing. I do think the word diversity in itself is one of those words that like throws the alarms off for people. And even though that's something that we really want to center and celebrate in this community, I do think that word in particular is something that's very divisive for folks.
Yeah. And again, it's being weaponized. It didn't used to be, but it's diversity, equity, inclusion. All of those words are becoming buzzwords, they're becoming politicized, they're becoming words of dismantlement. Dismantlement, is that even a word? Dismantle. Sorry, y'all, it's been a long day. But words to dismantle organizations and commissions such as this, right? And again, like I said, grants. And so I just kind of want just as you all are moving into, really brainstorming names, that again is still the spirit of that work. I would just hate for you all to be turned down for something just over a name, and although we know a name is identity, right? It's centered, but also knowing that people use it, unfortunately, to disengage with folks and to shame, and also to not do anything for them. It's to disenfranchise them. And so I would hate that to happen to this wonderful commission, right? Because we need you all. We have to have you all. It's imperative. And the work that you all do for and to our community is imperative. And I don't want anything to stand in the way of that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's good.
Is there,
Yeah.
in chatting about that, would you be able to share any of the articles or anything like that that you're seeing? Just because sometimes it's easier to work from a list of rebranded names and potentially coming up from scratch. Not that we're essentially throwing, out the ones that were already discussed, but that might add some additional layers to the conversation, and you're not having to create something from the fly. So if you wouldn't mind, if you have the ability, that would be
I think
amazing.
I can ask around it, and also I can just look. I think it's important. We're researcher by nature, so don't worry, I can find something for you all. But I mean, even when we were coming up, because we used to be called the President's Commission on something. It was like, I forget PACE, the President's Advocacy Commission on something. And when I got on it, one of the first things we thought about was a name change, and we kind of did, which was a really dope exercise. We kind of wrote down the focus around the room about certain things, and we broke out into groups, and in our groups we talked about the work we wanted to anchor, and from that experiment or that exercise, then we kind of went around and listened to each group, and each group was kind of saying the same thing. And so we were tracking themes, and then that's how we came up with our name. And I thought about the word commission actually from you all, because I said commission is we're committed to something. We're continuously going through something and constantly improving and this and that. And so that's how it became the Advocacy Community Commission. But it was through that particular exercise. And let me tell you, that just happened this past summer. That happened in September. Again, it was PACE at first, and it had been PACE for years. And so going through that exercise really kind of helped us focus in on what we wanted to do. And I'll just say, if you all ever want to come to one of those meetings, if you have time, usually they're during the day, or some folks be working. But I think I'll let Allie know, since she's my Ward 3 person, our next schedule when we have one, if you want to come in and kind of sit and just kind of see kind of what we do as far as when we coming up and framing our names and framing our work, because that may also help kind of trigger some things in your mind about what you may want to be named. But it was through that exercise that we came up with it.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So feeding into that, it sounds like for the annual report, I think this is good. So annual report doesn't have to have a set date or anything like that. So the subgroup will kind of meet, talk a little bit more about what potentially some alternative names could be. I think then at that point we come back and we say, look, the last couple of years has been in transition. And we've done what we feel like we can under our current guise. Here are some of our goals for the upcoming year, and to help us accomplish this, we feel like the rebranding will help, or allow us to go out for grants. I think it would be really impactful for council. Granted, we work under council's direction, but in the absence of specifically, we want you to tackle X, Y, and Z, I think there's an opportunity for this group to say, here are things that we feel like the city could benefit from. And then it would be up to council to determine if we're accurate in that or if we're off mark, but at least it starts that conversation. So I kind of see it, in all honesty, less of more like an annual report reporting the last, as opposed to just having that be like a snippet of what that is, but then talking about how we want the future to move forward.
I love that.
I would also say one of the things that we've entertained as council, just so you all know, we've done this with our transportation committee, is that we've had joint meetings. So if y'all ever want to like say, hey, we want to have a joint meeting with y'all, we can get that scheduled so we can kind of, if it's a brain, whatever, we can do that, and we can figure out what the framework of that meeting will look and feel like for both the city and for the commission. So just FYI, we would like to do it with all of our commissions. We did it with transportation, and it was very productive. So much so that's why we was like, oh, I think we need to do this. We always like, we think we need to do this and invite all the commissions, because I think it's just a good look. Not only that, it shows like we're in communication with you all, and we know what's going on. I mean, I know that I've come. This is the first time I came. We didn't have quorum, so we didn't really have a meeting. But I like coming to things, but it's also kind of hard to get around to each commission, or check in with your representative. But I think if it's a space and you say, hey, next time we want to do it, and when you present your annual report, hey, one of the ideas we're thinking about is maybe having a joint meeting, because maybe council has some things about name changes or what have you. That direction was given, but the direction was given, but what are some ideas that they may have too? They may have things rolling around up there too that we just don't know about. So.
Would that be an adjunct to the city council work meeting then?
Yeah, because we did let me see. Yeah, I think it was like a joint meeting it was a joint meeting. I think it was a work session meeting. I think it was a 4:00 thing. And I know that's kind of hard too, because people do work. But I think if we schedule it far in advance, that I think we can kind of make it work. I think it would just be beneficial to have y'all on the dais, have y'all talking, have people see who is on this commission. I think it'd be, really, really beneficial and fortunate for us to do that. I mean, you all are doing some really hard work, and work that is not always acknowledged or talked about, or people are shy away from it. So I think, having you all in that position and being seen like that, I think it would be really good.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll thinking about the timing. At our next meeting, hopefully we will have a full slate of 7 folks. We will have a new chair, a new vice chair, or we will have elected chairs and vice chairs. And I think from there, maybe we talk about looking at the calendar and saying, okay, how quickly do we think we can turn this around? And then I'll see if I can start working with the city clerk and the city manager's office to get it on the calendar. Okay. All right. Good. Next one, events debrief and potential event involvement. Any updates from anybody?
I have one.
Yeah.
So the LBCC Unity Fair, Gina, I know I had told you I hadn't heard, and so I reached out to Counselor McGee. And so at this point, it's scheduled tentatively, my understanding.
For the you saying the Unity celebration, right?
Yeah, the Unity celebration.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think that's going to be, but for sure, almost, yeah.
April 4th at 6 p.m.
Is there some way that we can be involved in that? Is that tabling? Is that volunteering? Is it just showing up and being additional supportive bodies, in participation? Is there a way that we can get further involved, or?
Yeah, it's so funny. When Allie reached out to me, I was like, yeah, I had just sent Jason Dorsett, the EDI executive director, like, hey, we need to start getting our flyers out, like getting the bulletins out, because the term is sort of wrapping up. We're in week 8 right now. And before we know it, in a couple of weeks, we'll be done. So I just sent him him and his assistant an email. And I said, let me know what you need from me. So once I hear from him, I will be in touch. I'll probably send Allie an email. But I do know, because I think because normally we have the Unity celebration at the end of February, like at the end of Black History Month. But this time he wanted to push it back to April. And we've had it in April before, so it's not a big deal. So I will, once I meet with him or hear what he has to say, and then let him know, like, hey, HRC wants to be involved. and what that would look like for you all. Even if that's just coming to show up and put the bodies in the room and say, hey, we're a part of HRC, we're in the community, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I can definitely let Allie know.
Awesome. Thank you.
And
I
that's
feel like
April
my bad.
April 4th at 8 p.m. or April 8th at 4 p.m.
April 4th at 6.
At 6. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh no, we won't be at that school at no 8 p.m. now.
Awesome. Well, good. Moving on, we'll do business from members, but Councilor McGee, do you want to, before we head into business from members, is there anything that you want to share, or have we already picked your brain?
I think y'all got me. I'm just,
All right.
thank you for the nudge to remind me to get in here. And I'm really excited about what y'all doing. I'm gonna have to make it a bit more of an effort to at least come to one. How many times do y'all meet a month?
Once, so don't worry.
I'm gonna have to at least do like every other month or something. That's gonna be one of my goals as a counselor to get here. So please bear with me. Please nudge me so that I can start putting it on my calendar. Thank you for having me. Yeah, but that's all. I don't have anything else.
Thank you for joining. So Robin, do you have any business for the group?
Just a quick update on my work at community development, where I do represent this group. Also appointed by the mayor. We're going through the CDBG funding approval process, and we've gone through the slate of presentations, and for those funds this year, and have scored them individually as a commission, and now we're coming back together to discuss how we're to allocate funds, which typically the amount of funds comes fairly late, so we'll get like allocation percentages, but we won't know how much until fairly late into the process here into the spring. But if you look at the commission's site, some of that work should be out there to certainly be captured in the minutes. If you have any input to any of those organizations, for instance, there was some discussion about Albany Chance, and of course their Department of Justice investigation / rulings that they then responded to, and then the DOJ has come back to them and said, yeah, that's a good plan, sort of thing. So, carry on. And so that, it's there's a fair amount of stuff there. So if this group has any input into that, I would love to hear it or field it or help carry that input to that commission. Which this year last year I was chair. This year I've been demoted to vice chair. So
Bring up a little bit of your time.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing, Robin. Jamie,
Yes.
anything you have to share? Nope. Allison, anything you want to share?
I just want to put back on our agenda the hope that we can do an in-person retreat, because I think that will help with some agenda setting for us. And I know that was an attempt last year that didn't come to fruition. So I'm hoping that we can do that. I don't know, Kim or Gina, if either of you would be willing again to kind of organize a poll for us. I would say probably looking maybe May or June.
Sure. We'll pull together some dates.
Thank you. Really
No
appreciate
problem.
it. And ideally for 2 hours. Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right. Alyssa, is there anything that you would like to share?
No, just thank y'all for welcoming me this week.
We're excited to have you. And I think that's something also, once we have our new chair and vice chair and we have our full slate, I think two other additional things that we should talk about is meeting time and format, if that still works, or if we want to be, you know, in the building, like let's talk about that. And then meeting frequency. Sometimes people say more, sometimes people say less, depending on what agendas look like. You try to generally make it worth people's while when they show up. So those would be two things that we'll chat about. Selfishly, I want to just talk about a couple things. The ADA transition plan that the city has been working on, that is going to be presented to council at the work session on March 11th. So it's been a long time coming. The public right-of-way process has been done. This is all city facilities and parks and all hard surface trails. So please, if you're interested at all, listen. It's going to be a living, breathing document, and one that we're going to live with for a long time. But I'm happy to say that it's finally here, and we're starting to check some things off the list, which just feels really good. Additionally, with that, if anybody, Deerfield Park is in Ward 3. It's south of South Albany High School off Waverly. It's 10.89 acres. It used to be owned by the school district. We finally finished paying it off. We bought it from them a couple of years ago. Oh gosh, it was before we entered into it before I got here. So it's been a while, but we just finished paying it off. And it is our oldest system in yes, in the city. So it was identified on the short list in our master plan. And so we have our first community input meeting tomorrow night at the Riverfront Community Center at 6 p.m. So if anybody knows anybody or is interested in attending, please, we'd love to come. It's unfortunately the same time as city council meeting, but this will be one of two public meetings. And our hope is to go out for a state grant for local governments to help supplement, as the small amount of money, which sounds large on paper, that we have doesn't really get you anywhere when it comes to any construction project these days. So Deerfield Park tomorrow. Additionally, employment opportunities. So we are getting ready to come into recruitment for our summer season. We are looking for folks to be lifeguards, instructors, work with our summer camps. And it's really wonderful when our staff looks like our community, and where folks can see themselves, especially kiddos. So we aren't quite ready yet, but I wanted to let you know that when that time comes, when we start heavily recruiting, I would love to be able to send it to the HRC and have you pump it through your networks, as we want to make sure that it's a great opportunity. Hey, two of our directors started out as lifeguards. So I like to say that it is a wonderful entry into public service. And it's wild and wacky, and just like the TV show, sometimes crazier. So we'll give you good stories as you head into high school or college. So that's just me selfishly needing your help in spreading the word so that we can get all the staff that we need to make our programs run this summer. Gina, do you have anything you would like to add? No. All right. Well, with that, our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, March 26th. I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 6:42. Have a great evening. Happy leap year, all those good things, and we'll see you in March.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Bye.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.